Welcome, beautiful, to the Creating Change podcast with Emma Bradford. Creating change to fall back in love with ourselves and life. Each episode, I'll be offering insightful stories, concepts, and practical takeaways to inspire your day, reconnecting to the authentic essence within. Are you ready, lovely, to embrace yourself even more and awaken to the magic life has to offer? Let's dive into today's episode. Hello and welcome to another episode of Creating Change with Emma Bradford. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you so much for all your shares and your subscriptions and really spreading the word about this podcast, sharing it with loved ones, and your feedback, reviews. All of that can really help get this podcast to the people that are searching for it. So thank you so much for sharing it with loved ones if you feel that they could benefit from some of these little bite-sized episodes talking about little useful things that we can bring into our awareness and start creating change in our life. And as you have probably noticed with these podcasts, and those of you who have gone through the Creating Change training, that creating change, how I teach it, is not necessarily about just focusing on goal setting. So yes, we can set goals and we can take steps, bite-sized steps towards that goal and create change in our life that way. We can create change in looking at what beliefs and emotions we hold also within internally. And that's more the perspective I focus on. Creating change for me is not necessarily about what we can gain in terms of the material sense or lots of goal setting. It's more about how can we shift the perspective that we hold about ourselves and the life that we're experiencing. Because when we shift that perspective, our experience changes. So that's what creating change really is about for me. And this is the main focus of these podcasts. It's really looking at how can we see things differently, open up the perspective and consider different points of view and learn about new things. And through that expansion, we're able to really start bringing in deeper awareness into all the gifts that are already present, all the wonderful things that life has to offer us that's right here, right now, and perhaps before we may have missed them. And if you have any topic requests, then please do send me an email, info@emmabradford.net. I'm happy to look at those topic requests and start including some of those in the podcast as well. Some of the podcast episodes so far have actually come from requests from listeners. So it's really wonderful to have your input also, what you want me to talk about and what you perhaps are finding challenging or difficult and you'd like some insight on, then just send me an email, info@emmabradford.net. And today I want to talk about listening to our intuition, listening to that intuitive knowing within, that feeling, that sensation, however it may arise for you. Sometimes people describe it as a gut feeling. You get a gut feeling about something. You just know that something is right or doesn't feel right. You don't know how to explain that, though there's this feeling, there's this sensation. I want to talk about that and really living life according to your terms, what feels good for you. It's so important that we pay attention to this. And I've certainly learnt the hard way. Not listening to my intuition has led me down some pretty sticky, difficult, challenging situations. And I've now come to the conclusion that the intuition always knows. It always knows, even if it doesn't make sense in the moment, even if you can't explain why in the moment, that intuitive knowing or feeling is there for a reason. And we have a choice. We can listen to it or we can ignore it. And sometimes by ignoring it, things can become a little bit more challenging and difficult. So intuition is something that I I endeavor to pay more attention to more and more as I go through life. And it's something that I have paid attention to in the past also. And I just wanted to share a little story about what happened at university and how important it is to listen to that internal voice, that internal knowing within. So many years ago, a long time ago, it almost feels like another lifetime. At university, I studied textile design and I was specializing in print making. So I was working with lots of screen printing and dyes and paints and really creating wonderful patterns on fabric. We were taught how to create repeating patterns and working with different colors and shapes. And it was so much fun. I absolutely loved it. And my main focus was creating fabrics for interiors. Some people loved fashion. Actually, probably the majority of the people on the training were more focused on fashion, apart from a handful. And I was one of the ones focused on interiors. I loved creating fabrics for interiors, for the home, like creating wonderful pieces that we can put up in our home. And in the final few months of that degree, so it's a 3-year training, a bachelor's degree, and in the final few months, probably like three months or maybe a little bit more, we worked on what we call a major project, and we had to take an idea, a concept, and develop that and create a whole series of designs based on that and exhibit it at the end. Now, I had lots of different ideas and we had a lot of support from the tutors there, and they worked with us and helping us and guiding us to make sure that we were developing things in the best way that we possibly could. And also, I noticed that there was this strong intuitive message coming in within for a particular design. I wanted to create a particular design. I wanted to have it digitally printed and then print over the top of it and play with light and shadow. And if you've been following my work, you can see how light and shadow has been a theme in all areas of my life, even when I was at university designing. So there was this particular idea that I really wanted to do, and I explained it to my tutors, and they were like, yeah, I'm not so sure about that. I think you should just stick with these other designs and don't waste your money on the digital printing. Now, it felt so strong within that I needed to do that. My intuitive knowing was just like, I need to do this. I don't care what my tutors say. I need to follow what my intuition is saying. So I actually went against the advice of my tutors at university in the final project. This was the main project that was going to determine the grade that I get for this degree. And this was quite a big thing for me to do. I listened to what they were saying about the other designs, though I still went ahead and did the digital printing for this particular design that I wanted to do. And I went ahead and did it. And when it came back, they absolutely loved it. Perhaps I didn't describe it in the best way initially, so perhaps they didn't quite see the full vision of what I was seeing within my mind's eye. And actually, one of those pieces, the digital prints, became one of the main pieces of my exhibition. And it was one of the pieces that got interest from people in the public. Like, there were people asking if they could buy it. So that was a major lesson in me and listening to my intuition. And another thing connected to that is because we were given predictive grades. We were told a few months beforehand, if you continue the way that you're going, you're projected this particular result, this particular grade for your bachelor's. Now, my predicted grade, I was not happy about. I knew I could do better, and I really wanted to get the best possible grade that I felt I could achieve. And one of those ideas using the digital printing, like, I felt that was one of the keys to really like stepping things up. So that's why I also listened to it that intuitive knowing. And I was like, yep, I'm going ahead and doing this because I feel it's the best possible thing I can do. And I actually ended up getting a much better grade, a much better result in the end as well. So it was all a wonderful result in the end. And I felt so grateful that I listened to my intuition. And it was quite a massive thing to go against the advice of people who were perceived to be in authority at that time, my tutors, my mentors at university. And I listened to my heart, I listened to my intuition, and it all paid off. And this is the thing, not everyone will understand, not everyone will be happy with what you choose. I've also had a massive reminder of this year. So in January, those of you who have been following me for a little while, you would have noticed that I pressed pause on trainings and events for a little while as I dived in deeper to explore a little bit more about creativity and my spiritual practices. And I really felt I was being called to go within to then create the next step forward of expansion. This is the thing in life. There's cycles where we always have expansion and then going in within, expansion and then going in within. And you can't have the expansion in life without those moments of going in within. Those two expressions are combined, they're interchangeable. It's like everything is this full cycle. If you look at everything in life, everything within the human body, everything within the universe, you've got that expansion and then going in within. So look at the pupils dilating, look at how the digestive system works, look at our breath, how we inhale and exhale, and what happens to the lungs as we do that. Everything's about opening up and then going back within. And this year for me particularly felt that it was a really important time for me to go within and to spend more time focusing my time and energy going in within. And not everyone fully understood this. I paused all trainings and events, and there was a lot of support, and there were also a lot of people that were saying, wow, you're brave. As if like, really? Are you sure you want to do this? And yeah, it's quite a big step to, like, after 10 years of consistently bringing out events and trainings and all these different activities, regular meetup groups. I was doing meetups every single week in Barcelona for many years. And then it became monthly. And then over the last year, I've slowed that down a little bit because I felt that I really needed to go within first to develop the next stuff that's to come. And so not everyone was really fully understanding. I felt that some people thought that, of course, this is my feeling and my perception, but I felt that it was kind of like, what is she doing? Or, are you sure? Or, whoa, that's brave. This is a time where you could lose members, you could lose followers, you could lose people interested in your work if you're not constantly putting stuff out. And I also noticed a lot of my own fears in there, which was contributing to those emotions of uncertainty. I had this deep knowing within, but then at the same time, there were fears about what will people think? What will I be able to do? Like, how am I going to navigate this in terms of finances as well? Like pressing pause on trainings and not having that income coming in. So there are many different question marks and fears and comments from people. And it was an interesting time to navigate at the beginning of this year. And I remember in January that I felt a little lost, a bit confused. I knew deep within that I was doing what felt right. And that intuitive knowing within, that gut feeling within, that was my guiding light. Even though there were all these emotions and fears swirling around that. But that inner guiding light, that inner knowing of, yeah, this is what I'm being called to do, that was what kept me going. And I'm so glad I've done that, because things have been developing a lot behind the scenes. There are many different projects underway, and those of you who are subscribed to my email list, every month I release an email, and I've only just started releasing some of these wonderful, loving soul messages that have been coming through my personal spiritual practices. I've started sharing some of those in the emails. So if you're signed up to my email address list, then you will get some of those messages. You will get some of those messages that arise through my own personal practices. And these are messages to really help us shed a new light, a new perspective on how to navigate challenges in life, how to really start returning back to the heart, living life through the heart, and really reconnecting to the heart and that heart space. And when we're there, the intuition becomes so much easier to follow. So this is just a little episode to talk about the intuition and what our heart is communicating. And perhaps some of those shares that I've been sharing in the emails, I might include a couple of those in future podcast episodes, that at the moment they're just in the email list every month. And I'd just love you to take a moment and reflect on what is your heart communicating, that intuitive gut feeling, like what messages are coming through. And if you're not quite sure where to start with that, or what your intuition is saying, or how to know what your intuition is, how to differentiate between emotions and that gut feeling, just pay attention to what's going on within your body. Do you feel expansive? Do you feel that everything is opening up? Do you feel open and relaxed? Or do you feel that something is contracting, something within your abdomen or within your chest, like there's some contraction there, that there's some tension there, that something doesn't quite feel right? Start paying attention to that expansion and that contraction as you go about your day and the rest of the week, and just notice in different situations with different people, when you think about different things, like how is your body responding? That can be a wonderful gateway, a starting point to start listening to the wisdom of the body and start listening to that intuitive knowing, because often it comes through sensations. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. So do get in touch, info@emmabradford.net. Again, if you have any topic requests, just let me know. And thank you so much for sharing these episodes. Thank you so much. And I wish you a wonderful day. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, beautiful. You're amazing. All resources and links can be found on my website, www.emmabradford.net. Link is in the show description. Do come and join my community and share your takeaways from this episode. I'd really love to hear. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Until next time, I wonder, what magic will you experience in life today?